Hi class, in this video we're going to be talking about Ohm's law. So Ohm's law um, involves voltage, current, and resistance. The symbol for voltage would be V, the symbol for current would be I, and the symbol for resistance would be R. As for the units, voltage are measured in volts, current is measured in amps, and resistance is measured in ohms, named after Ohms, who invented Ohm's law and discovered that there were resistance in electrical currents. So to measure them, we will use a voltmeter to measure voltage, an ammeter to measure amperage, and an ohm meter to measure resistance. It starts with this formula where V for volts equals to current times resistance. And we can just manipulate that formula to get our other varieties. So if you remember from mathematics, if I decide to, let's say, isolate for I, I'm going to divide R from both sides of my equation. And if I do that, I now get on this side, V over R equals to I, which is what I have here, right? And if I instead, if I had V equals I times R, if I instead decided to divide my I from both sides, then I will instead have V divided by I, or voltage divided by current, equals to resistance. And that's how I follow my formula down here. Now, let's go over an example. So there's already an example done for you. So here it says an electric stove is connected to a 240 volt outlet. If the current flowing through the stove is 20 amps, what is the resistance of the heating element? So when we look for resistance, we use this formula here. We already know what the voltage is. It's 240. We know what the amps is. It's 20. So I just compute 240 volts divided by 20 amps, and I got 12 ohms for resistance. Let's go over our own examples now. So here it says a 30 volt battery creates a current that through a 15 ohm resistor. So how much current is created? So if you recall, current represented by I would equal to the voltage divided by the resistance. So in this case, my volt is 30. I have 30 volts. And I'm dividing that by my resistance, which is 15 ohms. So upon computing that, 30 divided by 15 is 2. So the amount of amps I have would be 2 amps, with A representing amps. Okay, let's move on to question 2. A motor has an internal resistance of 40 ohms. The motor is in a circuit with a current of 4 amps. What is the voltage? So recall, voltage would equal to the current times the resistance. So in this case, my current is 4 amps, and I'm multiplying that by my resistance, which is 40 ohms. So in this case, 4 times 40 is going to be 160. Don't forget the units. This is 160 volts, just so I know that that is voltage. Question 3 is slightly trickier. So it basically says a current of 625 milliamps runs through a bulb that is connected to 120 volts. What is the resistance of the bulb? And hint, 1000 milliamps equals to 1 amp. So in order to calculate this, we have to, to calculate for Ohm's law, we have to have amps and not milliamps. So right now I'm given milliamps, so we have to convert it. To convert milliamps to amps, think about it like this. Milli is part of the metric system. So another way of writing this that you guys might be familiar with is 1,000 millimeters equals to 1 meter, right? That's a common measurement you should be more familiar with, where milli is just times 10 to the negative 3. So how I would convert, let's say 1,000 millimeters to 1 meter is I would take the 1,000, right? And I would divide by 1,000. And that would get me 1 meter. So we would do the same thing for the milliamps here. So right now I have 625 milliamps. So to change the milli into the regular unit, I would divide it by 1,000. And now when you divide something by 1,000, all you have to do is move the decimal place 3 places back to the left. So notice 625, the decimal is right after the 5, so I move it 3 places back when I divide by 1,000. So my answer should be 0.625 amps. Now that I finally have amps, I can calculate the resistance of my bulb. So recall that resistance, which is R, equals to volts divided by current. So in this case, I know what my volts are. It's 120. And I know what my amps are. It's going to be 0.625. And I'm going to place the units here. So that's amps and that's volts. And if I divide those, 120 divided by 0.625, I'm going to get 192. And my unit of measurement is ohms, so let's draw that. 192 ohms is my answer. Okay, let's move on to question 4. It asks, what is the resistance of the light bulb in the following circuit? So in this case here, I'm just giving an image. So it looks like this is a cell, a electrochemical cell. And it looks like my amps, they tell me it's 2.4. So let's write that down. So I know my current is 2.4 amps. It looks like I'm given a voltage as well. So my voltage would be 12 volts. So I'm looking for resistance. So I'm looking for what does resistance equal to? Well, now I know my resistance formula as well. R would equal to volts divided by current. So in this case, I'm going to have a volts of 12 volts. I'm going to divide that by 2.4 amps for current. So let's compute that right now. So 12 divided by 2.4 is going to equal to 5. And then my unit is in ohms. So my answer is 5 ohms. The resistance of the light bulb in the following circuit would be 5 ohms.